Okay, thank you very much for inviting me to your podcast. As said, my name is Ariel. In my background, I'm a chemist. I made my PhD in artificial intelligence, but long before it was so popular in '94. I was one of the pioneering in the field. I worked 14 years in a big company, in a big corporate. Then I have decided that I want to build my own business. And in 2000, I started my first startup. We built 3 startups in this organization and took the company public in the NASDAQ. I was several years CEO of the company in the NASDAQ as a public company. We made IPOs, we made secondary rounds, and the company at the end sold and is part of the fund today. And now this is my 5th startup that I'm involved, and I will be happy to tell you a little bit more about my own.
Yes, for sure. I'm very curious about what you're doing now. So with this new company you are developing, what are you doing with it? It's also about technology.
It always is about the technology, but I think now is the time to cross the pillars and connecting dots. If you're looking still in the universities, you can see, that they are structured on the same that they structure, 50, 60, or 70 years ago. You have biology department, you have engineering department, you have, other departments, dietitian departments, etc. And the technology moved ahead. So, you cannot focus only on single pillar. You need to look around at how you can actually cooperate with other technologies that are not necessarily on the same field. So what we're doing is actually integrating the technologies rather than focus on single technology. And therefore the product is different. Our product is, and what we're trying to aim is to mitigate or remove the risk for having diseases, which means predict them behind the horizon and using the nutritional vehicle in order to eliminate or mitigate the risk of the disease. But in order to do that, our focus is in integrating technology rather than developing a single. So we have AI and machine learning and big data and nutrition and biochemistry and clinical trials and medical devices. So it's more integration rather than single business.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. So that means that the work of your new startup is fully dedicated to prevention in health.
Yes, and this is a long story because, the healthcare industry is maybe the only industry that really didn't change. It's called health, and health is a great name. But if you're asking what the business of healthcare is doing, is managing diseases. It's not health.
True. That's true.
This is the real business,
That's a good question, yes.
So it's nothing with health. It's managing diseases. And then it's, of course, mutual interest for everyone. When one is sick, he wants that the healthcare will manage him well, and the drug industry wants that you will live longer, and the doctors want to see you many visits they can, and the hospitals. So it's a nice business, and it's growing, and you live longer, and you are able to cope, but it's actually improving the performance of the business. And in prevention, there is no money. And therefore, this is the only industry that was not changed. It's still a business of proactive. It's business reactive rather than proactive. This is the business.
Right.
And I think that today, with the technologies and the new technologies, they gave us new glasses. We actually are able to predict disease long before they arise. And if you ask what impact the health, there are only 3 factors: is your genetic, your lifestyle, and the nutrition. Genetic is not relevant because at the moment that you're born, you got your card, so it's not replaceable. Mm-hmm. So the lifestyle and the nutrition should be very effective when you know well in advance, and they are much less effective when the disease occurs. So
right. That's really amazing. I've been wondering always, why there is so much research on disease and so little research on healthy people. There is an abundant amount of healthy people on the planet that stays healthy for so long and have so many skills and abilities, but those healthy habits, the healthy skills, the healthy abilities, the healthy qualities are not being researched fully. I mean, I don't see much of that research. And as you say, health is the study of disease, actually. I am really glad for the work you're doing. It sounds like a change of perspective, and it looks very promising, I think.
I would say it's maybe change of perspective, and maybe you defined it going back to the roots, because if you ask yourself how the healthcare industry was developed, initially, it was developed based on wisdom of crowd. All the Chinese medicine was wisdom of crowds, 100 years ago. The problem with the wisdom of crowd is that you have variation and you have noises, and you cannot control the noises. But, with big data, you can control the noises. So actually, it's going back to the wisdom of crowd, because the AI allow you to use the wisdom of crowd in order to have very precisely. And what happened in the meantime was that after the Second World War, said, okay, because the noises is not good enough system, and let's do double-blind placebo control, but they very, very narrow what they are doing and have limited with the variation. So I don't think it's a new concept. It's going back, using the new tools to go back to the old concept of if you have enough data, you precisely know what is going.
Exactly. I understand what you're meaning. But this is really wonderful. I really like it very much. I really wish you great success. So considering the type of work that you're doing right now, what would you say today? What is your purpose as an entrepreneur?
My personal ambition is to change the healthcare, because there are some changes in the healthcare that the world needs to change the healthcare. And I will tell you what are the factors that will force to have change in the healthcare. The first one is that, all the drugs are new organic entities. And as a human being, we have a lot of variation. But in the past, when you had a side effect, it was hidden. But now when you have a side effect, the first thing that you're doing, going to the Google and seeing who else got the side effect. And this, in the secondary line, actually shut down the FDA and all the authorities to approve new drugs, because most of the people that are working in this organization are very conservative. They are not ventures guys, and they have nothing to win rather than to lose. They ask you more talks and more safe and more talks and more safe, which is endless, and it becomes very, very expensive. So it's very, very hard to get approval. If you're looking on the drug development, they are today focusing on cancer, where it's highly hard to associate it with your condition, because anyway, orphan drugs, the mainstream almost disappeared. So it's very hard to bring. The second one, we're living now longer, which means we're living, in the past we used to live until 60, now 80. People until 60 most of the time are not sick, until 80 most of the time between they are at certain point sick. So the healthcare costs become non-affordable to every government. And what they're doing is privatizing. But privatize is moving from the professional guys to the financial guys. This is the meaning.
Right.
And therefore, there is no way to continue with the expenditure of the healthcare cost in the world. And the last thing that really impact is that we are now a small village. We are not any one world. And people, I don't know, in India or in Africa, see how people living in New York before they have a house. They have mobile and they know how they're living. So most of the politician change, with the digital, They want to bring healthcare to everyone. In India, Modi said that he wants to bring Modicare to 1.4 billion people in one day. And it's impossible. So if you're thinking about the big changes that are happening now in the healthcare, inability to approve new drug, the high cost, and the need to supply healthcare to everyone, the only solution would be focusing on prevention rather than treatment.
Yes,
There is
exactly.
no other solution. Very simple equation. And what happened today, that artificial intelligence allow you to work with big data and the knowledge in the nutrition to do prevention much more substantially.
Well, from one side, I see the challenge that comes in the future, but at the same time, this challenge gives us the opportunity to say, today, the only path to go is prevention, because any other path, it's just not going to make it. We claim to have some goals, but then to really achieve them, we need to really go through the path of prevention. That's what is feasible. And it is great that you're pointing this out.